What is going on, guys? It is Josh here with Buckeye Bowhunter, and today is an exciting day. It is the first time I will be in the woods on one of my properties this year. I hunted with John up at his cabin last weekend, just because the weather was not really the best. If you were in Ohio last weekend, it wasn't really. It was, in the 80s, so why not go have some fun, hang out with John. We ended up having a pretty interesting hunt. Go check out our podcast, the Roost Podcast, if you're interested in hearing about it, because I think the episode will probably be a couple weeks out. Actually, that episode will probably have debuted before this one, so if you haven't watched that one yet, go watch it. But it is October 6th today, and it has cooled off dramatically. It's in the 60s right now, so like 67, 68, I think is what it is right now. And it's supposed to keep dropping. Tomorrow morning, it's going to be in the 40s. So this is a huge temperature drop, a huge cold front coming through. We had a lot of rain yesterday. We're supposed to get a lot of rain again, I think tomorrow afternoon maybe. So the morning should be good. This is what you look for, guys. I'll take a cold front in early October like this over the rut sometimes. So I'm super pumped about this, but I'm going to get packed up. I'm pretty pumped. This is pretty cool in here. It's been a while since I've been up here. I put a camera. Well, I was going through my Onyx and maps, and I'm trying to figure out where I want to hunt tonight. And with this cold front coming through, I was going through a bunch of my notes. And 3 years ago, I have notes from up here that says hunt first cold front in October. And I remember why I wrote that. I remember I was after some goofy horn buck, and I had an encounter with him and 3 other bucks. Early October, one of the first cold fronts. And then, I don't know if it was last year, maybe in the year before, I had a really good encounter up here on one of the first cold fronts with a big 8-pointer at the edge of this bean field here. And either way, we've had a pretty decent temperature drop. It's dropped about 12, 13 degrees since yesterday. It went from, low 80s to high 60s. It's 68, 69 degrees right now. Tomorrow it's actually supposed to be even colder, so I will definitely be in the woods tomorrow. But after reading those notes, I kind of decided, well, I'm just going to kind of walk in here and see what it looks like, see what sign, On the podcast, me and John and Bryce, we've been talking about how unless you feel like you're in the game, because there's so many times last year that I hunted, and I remember being well, it's, getting late, it's 5 o'clock, I just need to set up anywhere, and I would settle for a spot that I wasn't confident in, and what do you know, nothing would happen. I wouldn't see anything, or I'd see a doe 200 yards off or something. But we've talked about this year how we want to make sure that we're setting up on a hot sign, especially this time of year. If you're not on a hot sign right now, you are not going to see deer. You're not going to be in the game, especially mature bucks. So that's the plan for October. Every hunt to be in the game, to be on hot sign, and that's what I found tonight. So I'm pretty excited about it. The beans up here are a little browner than I would like, but they'll still eat on them. I got a big bean field over here to my east. I got a perfect west wind blowing right out to this bean field, and kind of out across the neighbor's bean field too. It's this giant 500-acre field. And there's this little staging area of real thick high grass, chest high grass, cattails, phragmite in between here, in between the bean field and this big wood lot. And I know there's a ton of locations where these deer like to bed all through here along this. It's just real thick, real gnarly. I get in here and I kind of walk this edge, and there's some really big tracks in the bean field. And then I step into this thick stuff a little bit, and it's kind of open, but you can see there's, rubs everywhere. It's like tore up. There's spots where they literally tore up the whole frickin' like the grass and everything's matted down. There's a big spot out here. It looks like it's all matted down. Like, I don't know, they fight there or something. I don't know. It's definitely from deer, I would assume. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of sign in here. But these rubs really got me fired up. There's a bunch of rubs right here behind me. And then out in front of me here, there's a bunch of rubs. And these bucks could be literally bedded within 100 yards of me right now. It gets so thick up here in these cattails. And then it's like this real fringy kind of edge habitat all the way up until it hits that main hardwoods. Now I'm sure there are oaks dropping up in here right now too, which are going to pull these deer away from the bean field. But being the first hunt of the year, I didn't really want to dive all the way in before I kind of had an idea, what's going on up here. So this is what I opted for. So hopefully we can at least see a deer tonight, a buck rafter. That'd be pretty cool. Like I said, there's one buck in here in particular that I definitely would shoot. And then there's, I think 2 or 3 different 3-year-olds that I would probably pass on. Well, I know I would pass on, but we'll see what happens. It's a little windy, but I'm going to put my jacket on here because it's actually getting a little chilly and settle in here for the evening. So I feel pretty hidden too. It's a pretty badass little spot, so we'll see what happens, guys. That's a bummer. I don't know if I would have shot a doe, so actually that might be a blessing in disguise. I'd share the Frank farm here with a couple other hunters. 5 o'clock, first cold front of the year. Of course, everybody's out checking their tree stands. I could hear people talking, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I looked down at the end of the field, and they were checking their stands, I guess. I turn around, and those deer were just beelining it right out to this bean field. Turned their four-wheeler on, and all these deer just stopped dead in their tracks. And the four-wheeler they drove off to the south, but they stood there at alert for 2 or 3 minutes. I couldn't get the camera on them. And then they all just kind of turned and started working back into the woods. It could have been worse. They could have gotten past me and busted me and snorted and all kinds of stuff out here, but they didn't, so. We still got some time, so stay tuned. There's some does, a couple does up on the field to the north of me right now. I don't know if you can see them on the camera. They're literally hanging out right in front of that blind. It's so funny. So as the evening went on, deer movement, it was pretty slow. I thought it was going to be a little more action-packed just due to the front. The full front hadn't taken effect at this point. The real drop in temperature was going to be kind of the next day on Saturday. And the last 15 minutes of light, I turn around, and there's a really good-looking buck in the field. I may have gotten a little excited, as you can hear. There's a giant right there. There's a giant behind me. Well, guys, I think that's going to do it. That was a pretty exciting night, I will say. What's going on, guys? I got Hannah in the tree with me. Decided to bring her along. She's been my good luck charm for the last couple years. It seems like every time she comes with me, something crazy happens. So, 2 years ago, I killed a really big buck with her in the tree with me. And then, wasn't it last year, I think? We were set up about 60, 70 yards down from here. And we had a really nice buck. Oh, I almost killed. Come in. We're set up. Finally. Took us forever to get in here. Had a cold front come through like 2 days ago, and it's been like, it was in the 80s, and then the 70s, and then the 60s, and now it's in the 50s. It was in like the low 40s last night. I hunted up in here 2 nights ago, saw a ton of deer, saw a really nice buck actually walk out on a trail that we're set up on. I was set up maybe 100 yards to the north of here. Big bucks, they're like fish. If one big buck's gonna use it, other big bucks are gonna use it too, you know? There must be something to it. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We've got a nice west wind here. And it's been blowing perfect. It's a little breezy, but I think it'll actually work out. There's a pretty good cover noise while we're getting set up, so. But our setup's pretty tight. It's a little goofy in here. This is like the only tree that you could get 2 people in. I only have, 1, maybe 2, 3 shooting lanes. We can see pretty good, but we got a couple Red Bulls here. We're gonna drink up our Red Bulls and settle in for the evening. It's 5:15 now, so stay tuned. We got a little buck and a doe about 200 yards out in the neighboring bean field. Got some deer moving. It could get interesting tonight. Oh, there she goes. Wait. See her running. Whew.
Oh my god, she's so cute.
She's like spinning around.
Yeah. Oh my God, Josh! I see the big one.
Let me see.
I see the big one. It's real. You see it? You see it? They're
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, that's him.
Where'd he go?
He's got his head down. He's eating. Yeah, I know. See, that's why it's so hard to kill a buck. That's a 3-year-old deer. And look how long he just they're just not in a hurry.
No.
You know?
Looks like he's walking.
Is he walking now?
Oh, I don't know.
He's gonna come out here and eat.
He's like so cautious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You see how much they just take their time.
Oh, look, he's walking this way. He's walking this way, Josh.
Yeah, I see him. Now, what you can't hear me and Hannah whispering about is the reason this buck stopped right here. And he's smelling and he's looking off into the swamp towards the hardwoods. And in a second here, you'll see he puts his ears back and he just starts walking, and he goes back behind this big willow tree. We can't see anything. This really caught my attention just because, you know, he looked like he was about to fight, and he looked a lot more riled up than he did the entire night with that smaller buck. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking maybe this is that big shooter coming out to the bean field.
He's staring at something. You see that? He could be staring at the deer.
No, that's the little one.
What?
That's the little one.
Oh, is it? No.
So as I'm looking for this big buck and this other 3-year-old, Hannah spots the little buck that we originally saw out in the bean field. During all the confusion, you know, I didn't really realize it, but our wind had kind of switched, and it was almost coming straight out of the south. It may have had a lot of thermal pull down towards that swamp. But this little buck definitely caught our wind, turned and ran back into the swamp. And at that point, I heard a bunch of crashing, a bunch of deer running, and we got busted.
Where'd they go?
I think they busted us. Did you hear them take off running? Sounded like they were running. Yeah, I could hear them. I just heard them running back in there. Bummer. That was cool though.
Be quiet because they leave.
Oh, there was a deer out in the beans behind us. Did you hear her take off? Or it? I think it hit our ground set down here where we walked in. That was a pretty cool evening. Well, guys, what a crazy evening. We still got about 20 minutes left, but there's a really good buck in here. Really nice 3.5-year-old. We were talking about the whole time, debating on whether he was a shooter or not. The closer he got, you know, we ultimately decided that he was probably too young. I do think I have pictures of that buck. And, you know, we had the wind really good all night. Blowing straight out of the west until the last 15-20 minutes. The day winds died down, and now we're getting the thermals kind of taking over, and our thermals are getting sucked down into this low bottom land where these deer were. And I don't know, how close did they get? 100 yards?
Yeah.
Yeah. They definitely knew something was up.